Hi guys, it's Devon here with Yoga Shala. I'm going to take you through a 60-minute Pilates workout. It's going to be full body, all levels, but I cannot stress enough to listen to your bodies. Don't worry about range of motion so much. Go wherever you feel that you need to go. Take breaks when you need to take breaks, and just have some fun. So I'm going to quickly, before we really get into it, go through some of the principles of Pilates and some of the words that I'll be using so that you can understand as we start flowing. There's two spines that we generally work with in Pilates. One is the neutral spine, and that's where you've got that natural curve of the low back. And the other is the imprinted spine. And that's when I engage deep into my low belly muscles in order to rotate my pelvis backwards. I feel my spine lengthening out along the mat as my tailbone moves down and my low back pushes against the mat. So if anyone has any kind of low back issues, or maybe if you're even just new to this kind of core work, as soon as we get both feet up into tabletop, I'd recommend switching into that imprinted spine. It's a little bit safer for the low back. Otherwise, we can work in neutral, but you really have to feel stable. If you're feeling unstable or vulnerable at all, just switch into that imprinted spine. Lower one foot to the ground while we do the work is always an option. If we're working with our head, neck and shoulders up in a curl, you can always lower down. So just find the level that you're feeling on that day. If you are working in imprint, it's a lot of work, a lot of challenge for that core. So one thing I like to do is stick my hands underneath my pelvis, and it just encourages that backwards tilt and makes all these exercises a little bit more accessible. As we're doing these exercises, always know that the lower down to the floor your leg goes, the more challenging it's going to be. The higher up towards the ceiling, the more accessible it's going to be. So again, pay attention to how you're feeling on any specific day, and then pick your level, and then that will change the workout from a little bit more beginner to a bit more advanced. So if you're not already at your mat, come here now, and we'll start lying down. Just come to your space. Bring your arms down by your sides. Your palms can be up or down. Your knees can be bent or straight. Take a nice deep breath in and a long breath out. Let's do that again. Nice deep inhale. Feel your rib cage, your belly rise. And then as you exhale, feel yourself get nice and heavy on the mat. Last one, deep breath in and a long breath out. Then bend into the knees if they aren't already bent. Place your feet on the floor and heel toe them out to the width of the mat. The arms can come out to the sides, palms up or down, and then just gently let your knees sway from side to side. Feel your core starting to work just a little bit here, so you're not just going flip-flop over from one side to the other, but move with a little bit of control. Try and lose the momentum from your legs, and see if you can start to feel your belly muscles making this happen. Move nice and slowly. See if you can feel your ribs be heavy while your pelvis is light. So as my knees fall over to the right-hand side, my left hip will lift. And then my abdominals pull my knees back through center. As I inhale, I exhale, they fall over to the left. My right hip lifts. And then exhale, I come through center. Go one more time each side. Before coming to the center and pausing here. Heel toe those feet back to hips distance apart, and bring your hands down by your sides, palms facing down. Let's extend the legs nice and long. At this point, we're just going to start to hike the hips up one at a time. So I inhale to prepare, and then I exhale, I pull my left hip up to my left ribs, and then I lower it back down. I exhale, pull my right hip up to my right ribs, and then lower it back down. Keep going like this. So I'm creating a side bend on one side, length on the other, lower back down, side bend on the other side, length on the opposite. Keep going like this, side bending and stretching, and then side bending and stretching. Try and make this work come from the belly as opposed to pulling up from the leg. So see if you can feel your abdominals pulling that hip up, and then let it go as the hip drops. Abdominals pull opposite hip up, and then let it go as the hip drops. Let's go one more time each side. Before coming to even and pausing here. Again, palms come down by your sides if they aren't already there, and bend into the knees so that feet are on the floor, hips distance apart. I'm going to start to rock the pelvis back and forth, but I'm making all of this work come from my belly. So very little weight in the feet, trying to not squeeze my bum. I inhale here, my pelvis is in neutral. And then as I exhale, my navel draws down and scoops up. My pelvis tilts backwards as my spine lengthens out along the mat. I inhale, let the belly go. The pelvis rocks forwards. I come back to neutral. And then I exhale, my navel draws down and up, low back pushes against the mat. I'm going to lift my arm up just so you can see my spine, but your hands should be down by your sides. Inhale, I let it go. Pelvis rocks forwards. Exhale, low belly muscles contract to rock pelvis backwards. Let's go 3 more times, moving through neutral spine. And then exhaling through imprint. Twice more. Try and keep your leg bones in line with the hips here. Last one, inhaling neutral and exhaling through imprint. Come back to neutral spine, pause here. So we've just done side bending, flexion, extension, and now we're going to do a little bit of rotation. So as I exhale, I hike my right hip up towards the ceiling, and then I inhale, lower it down. Exhale, hike my left hip up towards the ceiling. Inhale, lower it down. We're just warming up the pelvis here, warming up the spine a little bit, getting that pelvis to move in all different planes and axes before we really get into the work. We've done side bend, flexion, extension. Now we're moving through a little bit of rotation. And again, we're using our belly muscles to make this happen. So rather than pushing into the feet, I'm keeping my ribs nice and heavy, and then I'm engaging my abs to hike my hips up towards the ceiling, one at a time. Come back to center, pause here. We're going to go back through that imprint in neutral. So my arms come down by my sides. We're going to add on to it though. I inhale, prepare. And as I exhale, my navel draws down and up, moving through imprinted spine. When my belly muscles can't take me any further, I start to push into the feet, squeeze the bum, slowly start to lift the hips up towards the ceiling, coming up one vertebrae at a time. So I'm keeping my ribs nice and heavy on the mat here as I lift my pelvis up. And I want you to think about leading from the pubic bone, because you've tilted your pelvis backwards. And then that pubic bone is going to lead the way as your hips start to lift up. Inhale at the top here. I feel length from the crown of my head all the way to my knees. And then I exhale, slowly lower down, bone by bone by bone. And when I get to the end, my low belly muscles really have to work to get that low back onto the mat. I inhale, my pelvis rocks through neutral. And then I exhale to tilt the pelvis backwards. And then slowly start to lift up the hips, squeezing bum, keeping my legs in line with the hips. Inhale at the top, feel length. And then exhale, slowly roll down bone by bone by bone. Let's go one more time. Inhale, neutral. And then exhale, navel draws to spine, pelvis tilts backwards, abdominals are working. Then push into feet, squeeze bum, slowly lift hips up into the air. Pause when you get here. Adjust the feet as you need to so that you can Feel comfortable. If your hamstrings are cramping, think about pushing the feet forwards to activate the fronts of the legs and let those hamstrings relax a little bit. Feel stable here. Your ribs are still on the mat. Your bum is really working to keep these hips up. We're going to inhale, rock onto the sides of our feet. Our knees are going to separate. And then exhale, squeeze legs together, maybe knees tap. Inhale, open legs out to the side, knees separate. Exhale, squeeze inner thighs, knees are going to tap. Again, keep moving like this, working with your breath. Keep those hips high while your ribs stay low. Inhaling to open, squeeze bum. Exhaling to close, squeeze inner thigh. Let's go twice more like this. Try and keep the shoulders and neck relaxed for the last one. Then bring your legs back to hips distance apart and pause here. Again, adjust the feet as you need to so that your hips are nice and secure. Just like we did when we were lying on the ground, we're going to find that rotation in the pelvis. So I exhale and push my right hip up to the ceiling. And then inhale as I teeter-totter, left hip goes up. Right hip goes up. And then left hip goes up. Keep going like this, alternating from side to side, and see if you can keep your legs still. So your legs are in line with the hips. You're just really working that bum, working back body right now to make this pelvis rock from side to side. If your back is bothering you at all, just come down a little bit. Bring the hips down a little bit. Let's go for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause here. If you want to add on, you can always lift the arms up to the ceiling, palms facing in. This is just an option. We're going to add on to what we just did. I'm going to lower that right hip down towards the ground. It's going to come to hover. I keep it there as I lower the left hip down to hover, and then I push the right hip up, and then left hip comes up. Right hip lowers to hover, left hip lowers to hover, right hip goes up, left hip goes up. So it's like I'm doing a figure 8 with my hips. And you should really be feeling your back body working, inner thighs working, because again, you want to see as much as you can if you can limit this movement to the pelvis. Obviously, legs are getting involved. Obviously, spine is getting a little bit involved. But we want to keep those bits as quiet as we can as we just rock through this pelvis. Last one, this direction, right hip up, left hip up. Then let's go the opposite direction. Left hip goes down to hover, right hip goes down to hover. Left hip up, right hip up. Left hip down, right hip down. Left hip up, right hip up. Keep going like this, doing a figure 8 in the opposite direction. Probably really feeling inner thighs at this point. Keep breathing. Let's go 4 more like this. Always know you can lower those hands if it's feeling like too much. Last 2. Last 1. Before you come up and pause. Last little bit like this. We're just going to pulse the hips up to the ceiling for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause here. Inhale the arms up overhead. Land them on the ground behind you. And then exhale, slowly roll down bone by bone by bone, lengthening out those side bodies. Inhale, the arms come back down by your sides. So here, readjust, maybe wiggle out through the hips, feel that let go a little bit. Maybe you're windshield wipering the knees from side to side. Feel the inner thighs release. And then come back to center, pause here. Again, arms come down by your sides, palms facing down. I want you to come to a neutral spine and then hold this. So I want you to stabilize in this neutral position. I really like to think about taking my hip bones and trying to pull them into the center. They'll never move, but I'm really trying to create that contraction into the midline of my body throughout the entire torso. It's like you're doing up a really tight pair of jeans. So all these muscles are contracting to hold this pelvis in neutral. Feel your ribs slide in and down, and then relax your neck, relax your jaw, and feel your shoulders relax in a neutral position on your spine. Inhale here, and then as you exhale, right knee comes up for tabletop. Inhale, it lowers down. Exhale, left knee comes up for tabletop. Inhale, it lowers down. Keep going like this, alternating from side to side. And though I'm cueing from the knee, I really want you to move from the hip. So as I lift my leg up, my knee isn't actually moving at all. It's all motion from that hip. My knee stays in a 90-degree bend, and I'm really contracting, feeling this core work be challenged as that leg comes up for tabletop. We want to move really slow with control, and I want your focus to be on pelvic stability. So rather than how high you can get that leg up into the air, I want you to notice if when you lift that leg up, is your pelvis rocking backwards? Keep that neutral spine. Keep that natural curve of the low back as this leg tries and pulls the pelvis with it as it moves. Also, as you lift the leg up, make sure that knee isn't coming any closer towards the chest than right above the hip. So it stays in line with the hip if you're bringing it up. Adding on from here, one leg comes up for tabletop. Inhale, really prepare, and then exhale with control, opposite leg comes to match. Here is where you might want to switch into imprinted spine. Inhale here, exhale, right leg is going to shoot out to straight. Inhale, it pulls back in. Exhale, left leg goes out. Inhale, back in. Keep going like this, alternating from side to side. Again, you always have the option to lift the arms into the air, palms facing in if you want an added challenge. The closer down to the floor that leg goes, the more challenging it will be. Keep working. Again, your focus is pelvic stability here. Keep these ribs in and down. Let the breath come naturally. You're exhaling out, inhaling in. Exhaling out, inhaling in. Let's go twice more each side. Then come to center, squeeze these legs together, really work inner thighs. We've got 10 with both legs. Exhale, squeeze out. We've got 8 left. Relax that neck, relax the jaw, keep the pelvis still. Last 6. Break when you need to. Last 2. Last 1. Knees come back for tabletop. Lower one leg to the ground, lower the other. Let that ab work go. Feel the knees rock from side to side. The pelvis releases. Come back through center, pause here. Extend both legs out nice and long. Inhale the arms up overhead. We're going for a roll up. This is very challenging. Please be patient with yourself. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, lift the hands, lift the head, neck, shoulders to gracefully, with strength, not momentum, roll all the way up to sitting. How'd we do there? Okay, rock from side to side when you get here. Extend these legs out nice and long and then flex through the heels so that you can really push all your strength through those heels. I'm going to face you so you can see what I'm doing with my body a little bit better. So I'm sitting up really nice and tall. I'm pushing through the crown of my head. And it's almost like I'm lengthening my spine up and out of my pelvis. So my navel is still drawing in and up, lots of core work. Arms go out forwards and then plug those arms back into the shoulder sockets. Inhale here to prepare. Exhale, can you sit back just a little bit? So I'm still pushing through my crown. I've just taken my pelvis and rolled it back a tiny bit. Still lengthen my spine. I'm feeling this contraction move up my body. Inhale here. Exhale, can you come back a little bit further? Perfect. Find your breath, find your stability here. Inhale, and then exhale, twist over to the left. Inhale, come through center. Exhale, twist over to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist left. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist right. Inhale, center. One more time each side. Go left and pause here. Can you bring one arm up towards the ear? It doesn't have to go all the way up. And then scissor and scissor. So I'm rotating from my mid-spine, which means that my sternum, my breastbone is still facing forward. It's still in the center of my shoulders. Go 3, 2, 1. Both arms in front. Twist right. And then we'll scissor and scissor and scissor. Keep breathing through this. Keep pushing through the heels for 4, 3, 2, 1. Both arms in front. Come through center. Pause here. And then take a deep inhale to prepare. Exhale, slowly roll down for 6, 5, 4. Articulating spine for 3, 2, and 1. Arms come up overhead. And then exhale, circle the arms around. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, the arms up overhead. Maybe point the toes, take a full body stretch. And exhale, circle the arms around. Bend into the knees here. If you've got a little ball or a cushion or a pillow or something, I really like to use that to place in between the knees. It just creates a little bit of inner thigh engagement. It can be really nice. It's not necessary. With that being said, pretend that you do have a ball there and find that inner thigh engagement, regardless of whether or not there's a pillow or a prop in between the legs. Let's come to that neutral pelvis again, that neutral spine with the natural curve of the low back, and then engage deep belly muscles to stabilize here. Arms are going to lift up overhead and then interlace the fingers at the base of the skull. Lift the elbows up just slightly so they're in your periphery and keep a little bit of space between the chin and the chest. Take an inhale to prepare, and then as you exhale, you're going to curl the head, neck, and shoulders up. Inhale, lower down. Exhaling to curl up. So in this ab prep, just like when we were doing that leg work, my focus is actually keeping my pelvis still. The tendency is going to be for the pelvis to rock backwards as you lift up. See if you can really engage those deep belly muscles so that the pelvis is staying in its neutral position as the ribs slide away from the hips. And then exhale, you lift up, the ribs slide down towards the hips. Inhale, they move away. Exhale, ribs slide down towards the hips. I'm still keeping space between the chin and the chest, so I'm not pulling at my head, and I'm letting the weight of my head rest in my hands so that my neck and my jaw can relax. I exhale up and I inhale down. Let's go 10 more here before adding on. Last 4. Last 1, come up and pause. So still space between my chin and my chest. The weight of my head is still resting in my hands, yet I'm not pulling my head. My abdominals are keeping this curl here. Now I'm going to twist. So I'm twisting over to the right, and then I stay lifted through center as I twist over to the left. I stay lifted as I inhale through center. Exhale, twist right. Inhale, stay lifted through center. Exhale, twist left. Keep going like this, alternating from side to side. Can you lift up a little bit higher? As you twist, I want you to think about your armpit making a line down to your hip rather than your elbow, because I don't want you pulling the head. I want the abdominals doing all the work here rather than having this motion come from the shoulders or come from the elbow or arms. I want it to come from abs and torso. So feel your ribs rotating around that center line of the body. Tap in again, make sure your pelvis is still in neutral. There's still space between your chin and your chest, and you're relaxing head, neck, and jaw. Let's go one more time to the left before we again bring it right and pause here. Release that left hand, stretch it across the body so your left hand is on the outside of the right leg. Now we're gonna pulse, finding little pulses using your breath. So I'm exhaling to pulse up. And it's like I'm sawing that leg, my right leg, with my left hand. My pelvis is still staying still. My abdominals are pulsing to create this motion. Go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Before I bring that left hand back behind my head, I inhale, stay lifted through center. Exhale, twist left. Release right hand, stretch it across the body so it's on the outside of my left leg. And then I again pulse. Just like the other side, I've still got space between the chin and the chest. I'm not pushing with my right shoulder, but rather using my abdominals to create this pulse on the exhale. Pelvis stays still. Go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Arm comes back behind the head. I inhale through center and then lower back down. Great work. Let's roll over onto our side body. So I'm on my right side right now. My arm is going to come up overhead. And then I'm thinking about pushing my top hip down. So I'm not just here taking a nap on my right side, but I'm creating length through my side body as though I'm on my back or I'm standing. There's no side bends. I want a nice straight spine. To do this, my core is in, it's turned on. This top hand can either be on the hip if you want to test your balance a bit, or in front if you want a little bit more stability. I'm going to inhale here to prepare. And then as I exhale, my feet stay together as my knee lifts up. I inhale, lower down, and then exhale, open that leg up. So as I'm doing this, I kind of want my feet, my hips, my shoulder and ears to all be in one line, but that's not as important as keeping these hips nice and still. So my hips are stacked, my shoulders are stacked, and I'm trying to isolate this motion to this leg bone rolling around in the hip socket. Inhale to close, exhale to open. So the tendency is going to be that as that knee opens, the hip will rock backwards. We don't want that. I actually want you to think about pushing that hip forwards as the knee goes back. So really feel that contraction around the hip to make this happen. Check in with your core. Is it still turned on? Draw that navel in and up. Keep this working. It'll help you keep all of this nice and stable. Relax the neck, relax the jaw, maybe close down the eyes so that you can just focus on this motion. Keep breathing, keep finding length through side body. Exhaling to open, inhaling to close. We're here for a while, so get comfortable. Remember, range of motion isn't all that important as much as pelvic stability. So if you're keeping it nice and small, but your hips are staying still, then that's exactly where I want you to work. That's fine. If you've got more range, certainly you can work there. But just because you have range one day doesn't mean you'll have range the next day. So your goal is pelvic stability always when doing these clam shells. Let's do 3 more like this before adding on. Keep this top shoulder out of the ear. And then let's lift that top leg up to hover at hip height. Again, this hand can be in front of you if you want a little bit more stability. We're going to find that same motion with our leg hovering. So I exhale, open. I inhale, close. Exhale for external rotation of the hip. Inhale for internal rotation. Keep going like this. My knee rises. Inhale, my foot rises. So I want you to see if you can keep this leg on the same plane so you're not doing an arc and an abduction thing, but rather keeping this leg still and just finding a little bit more range for that internal rotation than when we kept the feet together. but it should feel fairly the same, just like a lot more work, so maybe a bit more exhausting. Let's go 10 more like this. Keep that core in, keep that neck relaxed. Last 5. Last 1. Bring the leg back to parallel. Now you might want to plant that hand in front of you. You're going to inhale, knee comes into the chest. Exhale, knee, leg pushes back and straight. Inhale, knee comes into the chest. Exhale, leg goes back and straight. So remember, as we do this, we're still thinking about pelvic stability. So as you kick that leg back and straight, make sure your spine isn't moving into extension. I want you to feel this work from where the leg meets the bum. Exhale back. 1 more. Inhale in. Exhale back. So right now I'm trying to get my leg behind my hip, but if I can't do that without pushing the belly out, then that's fine. Keep it wherever you've got it. Point that toe and then find tiny little circles with that leg. Small controlled circles hitting every area of that circle. So no D's, but a circle for 4, 3, 2, 1. Go the other direction for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause here. Flex that foot. Swing that foot forward so you're flexing from the hip. And then for 10, we're going to drop down. So we've got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower that leg down. You can hammer out your glute if that feels nice. I'm going to grab a prop. We're going to do some inner thigh work. So if you have a pillow, a ball, a bolster, anything at home, I just want you to take that top leg. So again, I'm on my right side, which means I'm bringing my left leg in front. And make this any height that you need so that you can keep your hips comfortably stacked. So you see if I take this out, my top hip wants to roll forwards. I want my hips to stay stacked. So in order to do that, I take a prop and I stick it there so that they can stay still. If you don't have anything around to prop your hip up, you can always plant that foot there. It requires a little bit of range of motion in the hip and can be funny on the knee though, so I don't always love recommending that, but if it's available to you, you can of course do that. So again, make it whatever size you need so that your hips are comfortably stacked. Bottom leg, so my right leg is straight, 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 and my foot is flexed. So I'm getting that leg as straight as I possibly can. Again, my core is in, and I'm pushing that top hip down so the hips are stacked and still. I inhale here, and then as I exhale, my bottom leg lifts up. Inhale, it lowers down. Exhale, it lifts up. Keep going like this. Feel this work in the inner thigh. Feel this contraction go all the way up, maybe all the way into the groin. You exhale up, inhale down. And as that leg lifts up, I want you to make sure that your torso is staying long on the sides. So as that leg lifts up, you'll probably want to side bend, but see if you can keep that core contracted or lower the range of motion so that your side body can stay nice and still. Your spine is staying nice and still. It's just that contraction of the inner thigh. Exhale up, inhale down. We've got 10 more like this. Last 2, last 1, lift it up and hold. We're going to push it back now. Leg pushes back and then comes forward. Exhale, it moves back and forward. So the leg is lifted. I'm still not letting my spine get involved. So as it goes back, your spine wants to extend. Belly button wants to go forwards. Keep that navel to spine engagement so that your spine stays in a nice neutral position. Keep it lifted. Take breaks when you need. We've got 10 more like this. Last 3. Last 1, push it back, pause here. So it's up, it's back, we're pointing the toe and we're finding those circles again. Go for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Other direction for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Flex the foot again. Now we're pulsing up for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's up. We're pulsing back for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's up. It's back. We're pulsing up one more time for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower that down. Ha. All right, last little bit lying on this side. We're going to come up into a side plank. So most important thing here is that we're not collapsing into the shoulder. If you've got funny shoulders, which a lot of us do, it's a really vulnerable joint. Take whichever variation you need to do. So we'll go through a few. One is on your forearm. Of course, if you want to come up and do it on your wrist, you're more than welcome to. You can stay on the knees, or if you want to go into full side plank, you're welcome to do that as well. I'm going to cue on my forearm and on my knees, just because the shoulder is a really vulnerable joint and I want to show the safest way to do this. So when we come up, we'll start with our hips down, knees are bent, and I want to make sure that I'm set up so that when I push up, my hips come in line with my knees. So I begin by pushing up and out of that shoulder, most important thing, core tucked in. I inhale here, and then as I exhale, I lift up, bringing my hips forward so I'm one nice long line. Stay here or add on with me. My arm is going to come up to the air. I'm going to inhale to dip my hips. Exhale, push up for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, still breathing, 2, last one, before I lower all the way down to my side. Switching over to do that whole sequence on the other side, but first we're going to do a nice little stretch. We're going to inhale those arms up overhead, and then I'm going to grab onto my left wrist with my right hand. Inhale up. I'm mirroring you right now in case you're confused about my lefts and rights. And then lean over to the side. I'm sorry, so you should be stretching your right side body right now. I did want to mirror you, but you need to be stretching whichever side you were just lying on. So reaching over to the opposite side of whichever side you were just lying on. Breathe into those ribs. Breathe into these side ribs. Inhale up, and then let's just do a quick counter stretch on the other side. And then inhale up, release the arms, give them a nice circle. Coming on to our other side for that whole sequence. So now I'm on my left side, because we just did right. I'm setting up for my clam shells to start, so my feet, hips, shoulders, or ears are in line. I push that top hip down, lifting up and out of side body, core is in. Top hand is in front or on the hip. Inhale, prepare. Exhale, open the knees, keep the feet together. Inhale, close. Exhaling to open. Keep going like this. And again, your focus is pelvic stability. So knee is going to open, hip wants to push forwards. Don't let it rock back with the knee. It's like that knee is opening and trying to bring the hip with it, but you're going to fight to push it forwards and contract those hip muscles, those bum muscles. Again, range of motion can lessen if you're finding that the hips are moving too much. We want them to stay nice and quiet. It's just this leg bone rolling around in the hip socket. Tap into your core. Have you lost that engagement? Bring that navel back into your spine. Relax your neck. Relax your jaw. Closing down the eyes. Just like the other side, we're here for a while. So get comfortable and make sure this top shoulder isn't falling into your ear. Let's go 10 more like this. Last 6. Last 2. Last 1 before we add on. Lift that leg up to hip height, and then we're finding that same motion. Exhale to open, inhale to close. Exhale to externally rotate, inhale to internally rotate. So again, that leg is staying in this plane. We're not doing a big arc and a big crazy abduction, which you can do. It's very challenging. But for today's class, we're just opening and closing. Exhaling, knee lifts. Inhaling, foot lifts. 10 more like this. Navel is still drawing in and up. Last 5. Last 2. Last 1 before it comes to parallel pause here. Again, really nice to have a hand in front of you for this one. Inhale, knee comes into chest. Exhale, leg straightens and pushes back. Inhale, knee comes into chest. Exhale, it pushes back. So remember, as you do this, keep that spine still. So you're not letting your belly go forwards and backwards or your pelvis rock forwards or backwards. It's staying nice and still. It's still just that leg bone rolling around in the hip socket as you bend the knee and then straighten and push. Inhale to bend. Last one, exhale, straighten, push, pause here. So the further behind your hip you can get that leg, the more you're going to feel this, but make sure you're then not letting the belly come forwards. Tuck it in, point the toe, and then we're going to find tiny little circles with that leg, small controlled circles for 4, 3, 2, 1, then go the other direction for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, flex that foot. Everyone's favorite. Swing it forwards, flexing at the hip. 10 drop downs. 10, 9, with control. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Punch that out. Grab whichever prop you've chosen to use. If you're using a prop, that top leg comes in front of you. Hips are stacked. Bottom leg is going to really, really straighten as much as you possibly can. Flex that foot. Core is in, top hip is down, so hips are stacked. And then inhale, prepare. Exhale, lift up. Inhale to lower. Exhale to lift. Keep going like this, working with your breath, feeling all this work on the inner thigh, maybe right into the groin, but your spine and your torso are staying nice and still. So that means as that leg lifts, this hip is going to want to come up towards the shoulder. See if you can keep a lot of length in those side bodies. Keep working with your breath. Keep that core tucked in. Try and relax the top leg. Let's go 10 more like this. Last 5. Last 1 before lifting up and pause. Now we're moving it back and bringing it forwards. I move it back, I push it back, and then I bring it forwards just in line with the hip. So I say move rather than kick because I don't want you to go into using momentum to make this happen. I really want you to feel your glutes contract. Again, feel this work where the leg is meeting the bum to push it back, and don't let it go all the way into the low back. So back is still, you're just feeling bum work, you're feeling inner thigh work, you're feeling back of leg work. Top hand is either on the hip or on the floor in front of you. Core is tucked in. We've got 10 more like this. Last 6, still breathing. Last 2. Last 1, it goes back, you point the toe and then find those little circles for 6. Last 3. Go the other direction again for 6. 2. 1, flex the foot. Now we're pulsing up for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's up now, pulsing back for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're up, we're back, pulsing up one more time. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower it down. We'll stretch out inner thighs at the end of this, I promise you. We've got some side planking on this side. So again, the dips are optional, absolutely optional, as is your position as we side plank. So coming onto either the forearm or the palm, it's your choice. Inhale here, engage core, push out of shoulder. Exhale, lift hips up. I'm going to do those dips, 8 dips. Inhale down, exhale up for 8, 6, 3, last 1 before lowering all the way down. I won't mirror you this time so that it's less confusing with the left and right. I was just lying on my left side. I'm going to lift the arms up. I'm going to hold on to my left wrist with my right hand. Inhale up and then exhale, lean over. Breathe into left ribs. Maybe your gaze turns to the left. Feel a nice stretch through that side body. And then inhale, come back to center. We'll do a quick counter stretch to the other side. Inhale, come back up through center, lower the arms, and as promised, we'll do a little inner thigh stretch. So bring the soles of the feet together, rock from side to side on your sits bones, and then inhale, find length. If you want to go deeper, you can hinge at the hips and slowly start to fold forwards. If this is enough for you and you're feeling like your legs can't let go in the stretch, take some blocks, take some books, take some towels, take some pillows, whatever you've got, place them underneath the knees so that you can feel a stretch and you can feel your bum letting go here so they're not having to hold on. And then maybe if you can find ease in that position with the props, you can start to fold forwards. Maybe even enough that you can let your head dangle and feel a stretch through the back of the neck. Deep breath into back of the ribs here. So as you inhale, really feel that back of the rib cage lift. And exhale, let it go. Slowly walk the arms back up. Move the props off to the side. Almost done, just a little bit of extension work. Let's move through a little bit of cat-cow. So we're coming into our tabletop position. Wrists are under shoulders, knees are under hips. I inhale, my belly drops, my head lifts, my tailbones lift. And then I exhale, my navel draws to spine as I push through the hands, head drops. Inhale, moving through cow. Exhale through cat. So move at your own pace here. Move with your breath. Stay in one position if it feels particularly nice. Then come to center and pause here. We're going to do a few push-ups, everyone's favorite. I'm going to do them on my knees. If you want to do them in full plank, you're more than welcome to. Because I'm doing them on my knees, I'm going to pad my knees. So I'm just going to fold my mat over a little bit. And then I'm coming into my plank position. When we do these push-ups, we're doing chaturanga push-ups. So it's like you're sending your elbows backwards. The arms are going to graze the rib cage. I come into a plank. So even though I'm on my knees, I'm still in plank. I'm definitely not letting my hips dip. My core is turned on to lift up. If you want to lift your hips up a little bit more, then you're more than welcome to do that, but definitely not letting hips drop. We've got 10 like this. Inhaling down, exhaling up. Here we go. Inhale down, exhale up, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Push back for a child's pose. Good news, 10 are done. Bad news, we've got 10 more. So slowly come back up. After taking a quick breath, these ones are going to be peck push-ups. They're a little bit nicer. Widen the wrists, the hands out to the width of the mat, maybe a little bit wider. This time as we push up, our elbows are going to go out to the sides here. So again, I come into my plank pose. I'm inhaling down and I'm exhaling up for 10. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come up and then push to a child's pose. Take a deep breath in and a long breath out. Let's do that again. One more deep breath in and long breath out. If you have your mat rolled up, you can unroll it now and then make your way on to your belly. So when we're in this position on our belly, I still want you to think of that neutral imprinted spine. So if you're ever feeling compression in the low back, we're tilting the pelvis backwards. So you're feeling that pubic bone just gently pushing into the mat. Core is engaged here. My hands are going to stack one on top of the other so my forehead can rest here. I'm finding lots of length in the back of the neck. And then I'm going to start to lower and lift the legs. So the most important thing here is that it's not about height. It's actually about length from those legs. So I think about pushing my left leg back towards the door and then slightly lifting. Inhale, I lower down. Right leg pushes towards the door, lifts slightly as I squeeze my bum. Inhale, lowers down. So my pelvis is still tilted backwards, and this prevents any kind of extension in the low back. That's not what we want. It's about lifting. And again, you're feeling this work from where your leg meets your bum, rather than from low back. Keep that spine nice and long. Go 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. Lower the legs down, bend into the knees, let the feet sway from side to side, neutralize the pelvis. Legs go back out to straight, arms go out in front. This time we're going to work the upper body. Again, we tilt the pelvis backwards, pubic bone gently pushes into the mat. Spine is nice and long all the way up to the crown of the head. Inhale here as you glide your shoulder blades down the back. Then as you exhale, you're going to cactus the arms, squeeze shoulder blades together. Think about pushing the crown of your head forwards and notice from doing that motion, there's a little bit of a lift. Inhale, come forward, let it go. Exhale, shoulder blades slide down as crown pushes forwards, creating a little extension. Inhale, let it go. Exhale, up. Inhale, let go. So it's not about height, it's all about length. Let's go 2 more. Last one, come up and hold. I'm going to extend with my right arm as I reach over to the left. And then inhale, come back up. Exhale, I reach. Inhale, back up. Exhale to reach. Inhale, up. My gaze is still down, my neck is still long. Let's go one more each side. Before I lower the head, neck, and shoulders back down, release any